Opposition leader Dr. Lama Col has announced the party NDM is joining implementation of the two-year peace roadmap after criticizing the extension. A lawyer has accused the mayor of Juba City of interfering in the execution of a court order seizing the assets of Go Green Company. And the International Women Conference in Juba has recommended for increased participation of women in decision-making government positions, including legal and policy reforms. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with Milo Galamulai, and now the news in detail. The leader of the National Democratic Movement, Dr. Lama Col, has announced the party is joining the implementation of the 2 years peace roadmap after criticizing the extension. Emmanuel Joseph Akile has more on this story.
In a statement sent to iRadio News Desk by the NDM, the group says it cannot isolate itself from the crowd since the majority of the parties have already agreed to the extension. In August last year, parties to the unity government extended the 2018 peace deal to give it time to accomplish the pending chapters of the agreement. During the discussion on the peace implementation roadmap in Juba, the peace government resolved to stay in power until December 2024, when elections are expected to usher in a new government. This is because it said the peace agreement required elections to be conducted 6 months before the end of the transitional period. Commenting on the move last year, Dr. Lama Col, the leader of the NDM and a signatory to the peace deal, said the decision by the peace parties in Juba was the outcome of a deliberate obstruction to the speedy implementation of the peace provisions. He termed it as a deliberate tactic by the unity government to stay in power. However, the NDM now retracted from its previous position, saying it will join the roadmap implementation. In its statement, NDM says, and I quote, "Now that the adoption of the new plan has become a fait accompli, the NDM cannot isolate itself from the crowd. Hence, this is to declare that the NDM shall henceforth join the implementation of the new roadmap that extends the transitional period for another 2 years as from 20th February 2023, end quote. Dr. Lama Col's group, however, said the new roadmap must begin with a thorough evaluation of the implementation process in the last 4 years to avoid the previous mistake. It also described the extension as an opportunity to engage the non-signatories to the agreement. NDM called for an all-inclusive conference to discuss the way forward, adding that it will be a good gesture to win the confidence of South Sudanese refugees and IDPs to encourage their return to their homes. The unity government is yet to comment on the announcement of NDM to join the roadmap implementation. Reporting for iRadio News, Emmanuel Joseph Akile.
A lawyer has accused the mayor of Juba City of interfering with the execution of a court order seizing the assets of East Africa Go Green Company. This comes after Kator Payam Court in Juba directed the police to seize the assets and properties belonging to the company until the court issues its final verdict on the case. The case involves the alleged breach of contract by East Africa Go Green Company after acquiring a $2.5 million loan from Simon Trading Company. In a document seen by iRadio, the East African Go Green signed a contract with Simon Trading Company in 2021 for doing business in the capital city. According to the agreement, Go Green took the loan to finance the cleaning and beautification of Juba City. The agreement stated that the East African Go Green will pay the loan with a 35% interest in a monthly settlement of the gross borrowing. However, the East African Go Green allegedly failed to pay back the money it borrowed from Simon Trading Company and the accrued interest. After the dispute emerged, the Go Green notified Simon Trading Company that it has stopped paying the money due to challenges. As a result, the trading company filed a lawsuit against Go Green Company demanding the payment. Godfrey Victor is the lawyer of Simon Trading Company. He said the Qatar court judge Simon Deng Jagu presided over the matter and issued an order directing the police to confiscate Go Green assets. However, Godfrey says the mayor of Juba City Council interfered with the court order.
So when we went to close the office to execute the order of the court official, the mayor came and stop the execution. Something so disturbing. Who is mayor of Juba City Council to stop the order of the court? The mayor stopped the order of the court, removed all the instructed for the padlocks to be open, and he collected the keys of the cars that were taken by the court officials, and said he will not allow this company to be closed. And if this company is closed, he will resign.
Responding to the allegation, the mayor of Juba City admitted to interfering with the court order. Michael Lado Alajabo says the issue between Simon Trading Company and East African Go Green is an internal problem. However, Alajabo wondered where Go Green got the money for purchasing those trucks.
We are surprised to hear that they have problem, internal problem. They want to sell the trucks. They want to stop the business. The cleaning. Why? How? How can we survive with the garbage collection? That is why we interfere. We are part and partial of this contract. So we will not stop things without our involvement in that particular. And that I'm very clear to that. We are part and partial of the agreement. If there any problem among them, we need also to be there. Even in the court, we need also to be in the court because we have our legal advisors that have the copies of all the contract.
In January 2022, Juba City Council signed a memorandum of understanding with East African Go Green for garbage collection. However, officials and residents said the Go Green company has failed to keep Juba clean as promised despite collecting garbage from the public. iRadio's efforts to reach East African Go Green to comment went unsuccessful. You are listening to iRadio News. The International Women's Conference has recommended increased participation of women in decision-making, institutional positions, including in legal and policy reforms. During the conclusion of the three-day conference in Juba, the women deliberated on key issues affecting their growth and empowerment in the country. Participants deliberated on actions and strategies to strengthen women's participation in leadership, decision-making, and ways to safeguard the rights of young women. Betu Kari Murungi is a human rights activist and an international consultant for the conference. While reading the recommendation that came out of the conference yesterday, she highlighted the role of media and other partners play in shaping women's narratives and stories.
The media is a key agent of changing social views of women, awareness raising, shaping national discourses on women, representation, and positive portrayal of women. In addition to this, building the support and solidarity of male allies is critical to the attainment of gender equality. Civil society organizations at both national and community levels are critical to movement building, shaping agendas, mobilizing and organizing the nation, in advocacy, in monitoring and following up on implementation of key aspects of both ACRIS and the reform laws, but also in providing technical capacity to the women's movement.
Some of the recommendations that came out were capacity building for universities, community groups, media on research and policy, and legislative advocacy and gender rights awareness. The consultations also noted the need for both donors and the government to support women in the next 24 months ahead of the upcoming general elections, as their participation of women will need technical and financial support. The public has given mixed reactions to Juba City Council's crackdown on water tank supplies. Yesterday, Juba City Council justified its decision to impose health and dress code fees on water tank drivers, a move that prompted distributors to desert the water filling stations. It urged the water supplies are unhygienic and some of them have operated illegally. Some of the water tank drivers were reportedly summoned to the council headquarters for questioning. Reacting to the matter, some of the callers who spoke to iRadio's Sundown yesterday edition supported the move by the city council. However, most of the callers were opposed to the city mayor's crackdown on the water tankers, and his utterances regarded were negative messages. Those who criticized the city council suggested that the city council buy its own water tankers to supply the population. This is what they had to say.
You are telling the negative message that these people don't know to serve themselves. If I don't work for them, they will die. So that's why I agree with the government who will not die. With 1 year of the war, they were not here, and those Sudanese were alive. So let them not disturb us. To me, the government fix it from there. They would have also buy their own water tank. They provide water and they sell them to the people. Do they have money to buy? Why are they leaving these to the people whom you accuse that they are the one maybe sabotaging their policies? So it is very unfortunate to see somebody working in the authority finger pointing with no clear evidence that these people are the ones sabotaging. أول حاجة كانوا مدير واقف عربات بتامون هذا كلامه يجيبوا تريلا بتامون البوابة مو اللي الناس جاهلة أو كانوا وصلوا مرة فيها بيوت لو كورتوس جابوا الجون بيتي أربعة يشيلوا مو من شاري لبيتي من كارتوس. So I don't feel as the government is doing reformation in doing the welfare of the citizen of the country. So it is their interest in which they have let these people go for a strike.
Finally, before moving to stories making headlines in the region and the international scene, a medical doctor has reminded the public to practice regular hand washing to prevent transmittable diseases. Dr. Abek Raphael, an emergency and critical care doctor, says routine hand washing can keep one healthy and prevent the spread of respiratory and diarrheal infection. Science has it that germs can spread from person to person, from surface to people when one does not keep hygiene. Dr. Abak is now advising the public to regularly wash hands with clean water and soap to avoid infections. The medic also encourages schools and public places to provide hand washing facilities around pit latrines for users to clean their hands after use. She also urges parents and caregivers to educate their children on the essentials of hand washing through a regular practice of hygiene. The medical doctor made the remarks during the iRadio Sundown program last evening.
We have to consider taking safe water at home. We need, as individuals at home, like to consider taking or consuming safe water and washing hands. Washing hands is very important. After using the latrines and also before you touch the food, you need like to wash your hands properly with soap. There is other alternative if soap is not there. For you to save your life and to protect your life from those transmitted diseases through oral feces, contaminated food. Like you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, make it a habit. You go to latrine, wash your hands. And also in the schools, any latrines, it has to have water next to it and soap. For those children, when they use the latrines, they make it as a habit. They see the water in front of them and they see the soap. They go and wash their hands before they go and play with other students or other friends or other colleagues in the school.
You are listening to iRadio News. Now to stories making headlines in the region and the international scene, brought to you by MTN. We are joined by Lasuba Memo.
Ya habibi ya muswar gelbi. Taliko guruze?
Ay ya hayati, ana liko gurujde. Lakin maji mufadulu 20,000 tamila ya.
Hayatai gelbatai. Mata kafo, ana virasu leta tani ya sedefi hisab takita momo.
Semengo, resite sirin teletin, marata kide gonu sumunu ke tirzede.
Logoro moy, de ma resite de gurus asili. MTN mulena accent haja fi belede jibulena momo de rasul guruje ming marabi shilu ming obitala wo biya haja uder fi ay zaman fi ay waqt momo de accent haja lo gurmoy momo de MTN mobile money albiside wanna hafiz gurus tenna u rasul gurus tenna fi ay zaman le ay zola lindo account MTN mobile money ashanta wifata hisab ma momo MTN mobile money lazim kelta dusu najma 200 silim wita bilgo ketir min malumat albiside ta kefita wifata hisab.
Thanks, Lugala Molai. On the international scene, a Mozambican pastor died after fasting for 40 days in an attempt to copy what Jesus Christ is said to have done in the Bible. The death of Francisco Baraja, the pastor and founder of the Santa Trindade Evangelical Church in the central province of Manica, was confirmed on Wednesday. He died while being treated at hospital in Beira, where he was evacuated in critical condition. After 25 days of fasting, he had lost a lot of weight to a point where he could not stand up, bathe, or walk. Days later, at the insistence of relatives and believers, he was taken to a hospital, but attempts to get him back to health were unsuccessful. Elsewhere, an Ethiopian says the country's security forces killed at least 3 people when they fired at people protesting against shortage of water in the southern town of Wolkite. Some 5 other people sustained injuries during the protest on Wednesday. The residents were angered by worsening water shortage in the town and held a protest in front of the city's water management office. Finally, the electoral body in the Democratic Republic of Congo says it has started voter registration in 7 provinces in the eastern part of the country, where millions of civilians have been displaced by fighting between the army and rebels. It's the last round of voter registration ahead of general elections scheduled for December this year. The Independent National Electoral Commission said voters will be registered in the volatile province of Ituri and North Kivu, as well as in the US and Canada. That's all in the international scene. Back to you, Lokalamulai.
Thank you very much, Lasuba Memo. Now to the world of sports. Moyo Jacob Felix, join us.
Good afternoon, Lugala Mulai. Defending champions Man City moved above the Gunners at the top of the table. Erling Haaland said, "We can all agree Arsenal has been the best team this season, so to come and play against them is not easy. But we played an amazing game and got 3 really important points." Erling Haaland felt Manchester City produced a performance worthy of champions as they beat Arsenal 3-1 at the Emirates Stadium to go top of the Premier League, while Mikel Arteta was left to review his side's defensive errors. The 2 sides were locked at 1-1 at the interval after Bukayo Saka's penalty had cancelled out Kevin De Bruyne's brilliantly taken opener following a Takahiro Tomiyasu error. But City dominated the second period and claimed the victory through goals from Jack Grealish and a 26th of the season from Haaland as Pep Guardiola's side ruthlessly punished more Arsenal sloppiness. Karim Adeyemi scored a brilliant solo goal to condemn Chelsea to defeat in their Champions League last 16 first leg tie at Borussia Dortmund. The Premier League side renewed missed chances as Joao Felix shot over from a good position and then hit the crossbar in the first half. Reece James also forced 2 fine saves out of Dortmund goalkeeper Gregor Kobel in the second half as the visitors grew in confidence against the hosts, who were themselves struggling to create many chances. But Chelsea were under 1 on the counter midway through the second period when Adeyemi broke from inside his own half following a Chelsea corner, knocked the ball past Kepa Arrizabalaga before slotting into the empty net. Benfica beat Club Brugge in Scott Parker's Champions League debut as manager of the Belgian champions. Jack Henry tripped Gonzalo Ramos in the area 4 minutes after half-time, and João Mario scored a penalty despite his shot being pushed onto the underside of the bar by Simon Mignolet. The second leg of the last 16 tie takes place in Lisbon on 7th March. Braga are making their debut in the Champions League knockouts and were outclassed by the Portuguese side, who topped Group H ahead of Paris Saint-Germain and Juventus. And finally, British number 1 Cameroon Norrie avoided a short defeat by Facundo Diaz Acosta as he fought back to reach the quarterfinals at the Argentina Open. Norrie was on the brink of exiting the tournament but broke back as home favorite. Diaz Acosta, ranked 191st in the world, served for the match, while number 12 Norrie eventually edged a close deciding set in a tie-break to win 4-6, 7-5, 7-6 in Buenos Aires. The Briton meets another Argentine, Thomas Martin, at Cheffery next. End of the sports news. Back to you, Lugala Mulai.
You are listening to iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines once again.